Jess Galvin walked past at least 5 of the 7 deadly sins before he even reached the bar. But hey, who was counting? In the dirt yard fronting the low-slung stucco building, factory workers leaned over a cockfighting pit, waving fistfuls of payday pesos, throats hoarse, shirts spattered with fine sprays of rooster blood. Just inside the bar's front door was the pat-down and gun check station, manned by a pair of bouncers with automatic rifles who frisked so thoroughly it was almost sexual assault. You were supposed to tip them, strapped or not being the exception. In the long main room, a ceiling fan sliced slowly through air heavy with sweat and lust. Busted-out card players trounced from the backroom games, commiserated over cheap cigarettes at the rickety tables. Drunks slumped in the booths, glassy eyes level with their tequila glasses. On the tiny raised stage, a stripper with rawhide skin and a razor blade under her tongue traipsed back and forth like a caged lion, cigarette in her hand, eyes harder than her lurid silicone enhancements. Galvin eased onto his stool and watched the bartender polish a dirty glass with a dirtier rag. The guy was short and stocky, forearms crisscrossed with raised scars, a hairnet stretched tight over his thick black mane. Talk about closing the barn door after the horse takes off, Galvin thought, lifting his gallon jug of water to his lips. A few loose human hairs sure as hell weren't going to make this dive any less sanitary. Maybe they'd thrown a dart at the health code, decided to enforce whichever rule it hit. The barman turned away to grab another glass. "You Jess?" he asked over his shoulder. "I am," said Galvin, clocking the dude's hands in the mirror behind the liquor bottles. "Got something for me?" He slid his backpack off his shoulder, fingered the zipper. "Change of plans." The bartender turned back and fixed his good eye on Galvin. The bad one kept looking at the glass. "The boss, he decided he want to meet you. He say sit tight, he'll be here soon as he can. Meantime, drinks are on him, much as you want." Like I'm gonna cross the fucking desert drunk, with a bag full of bearers' bonds? If that's the kind of service he wants, he can spend a lot less than I charge. Galvin looked at his watch, even though he knew exactly what it said. "Look, if I don't get going in the next half hour, I won't have enough dark to make it over. You call him and tell him that." "No can do, jefe. You don't believe in phones." Galvin dropped his elbows onto the bar. "Great. How about a soda or something?" Galvin shook his jug so that the water sloshed against the sides. "All set." A high, trilled laugh bounced off the walls, and Galvin turned toward it just like everybody else. A girl in a tube top and spike heels was stepping through the door, on the arms of 2 Mexicans dressed in vaquero shirts and gaudy boots. He didn't have to be a toxicologist to see that she was lit off her ass. If she'd ever known how to walk in those shoes without wobbling, she'd certainly forgotten now. And you didn't have to be the father of a teenage girl to know this one had no business being here and wouldn't for another 4 or 5 years. But maybe you had to be one to care. Galvin planted a sneaker on the sawdusted ground, his body tensing as he watched the men lead their jailbait to a table where 3 others waited with beers raised in salutation. That could be my little girl. It was no abstract observation. Everybody's someone's kid, but a future terrible in its plausibility. Either I get custody, or her crazy-ass mother will ruin her life. He'd tried twice before in the 6 years since the divorce, and the only place he'd gotten was further in debt. But Galvin hadn't understood the game then, hadn't played to win. To wrest a kid away from her mother in fucking kill-em-all let God sort 'em out Texas, you needed big league legal firepower, not some jackass of all trades attorney with a strip mall office and a men's warehouse suit. You needed